Asterisk, my name's Samantha Dawson, but everyone calls me Sam, 27 years old. 3 part-time jobs deep and still deciding if surviving in the city counts as success. Rent was due last week, again. And like every month since I lost my second gig, I was dodging it like bad weather ducking under excuses and praying no one saw me flinch. Asterisk. The city doesn't care why you're broke. It doesn't care that your ex cheated and took half your stuff. That you're eating oatmeal twice a day and mixing ketchup with hot water to pretend it's soup. It cares only about the bottom line, and right now, mine was screaming red. Asterisk, I sat cross-legged on my mattress because I couldn't afford a bed frame with an eviction notice in my hand. Dated and stamped by the building's management. Travis. Green, my landlord, had slid it under my door early this morning. Again, asterisk, Travis wasn't your typical building creep. Early 40s, polished, always wore that smug cologne of someone who didn't worry about money. But he was hard to read, never. Flirted, never yelled. Just ... calculated, quietly powerful. I hated that I found him interesting. Asterisk, my phone buzzed. New shift schedule, only 8 hours this week. My chest tightened. That was barely enough for groceries, let alone back rent. Asterisk, I needed a miracle, or a crime, or both. Asterisk, by sunset, I'd made peace with defeat and poured myself a quarter glass of leftover wine that tasted like regret. That's when the knock came, 3 soft raps, steady, patient. Asterisk, I opened the door. And there he stood. Asterisk, evening, Sam, Travis said, voice smooth like warm bourbon. Got the notice? I nodded, holding it up. I figured, he said, leaning against the doorframe. That's 3 months now. I could file, but ... asterisk, but. I hated how hopeful I sounded. Asterisk, he shrugged. You're not like the others. You don't make excuses. You don't beg. I respect that. Asterisk, I didn't say thank you. What was I supposed to say? Glad you admire my quiet desperation. Asterisk, there might be a way around the rent issue, he continued, eyes flicking past me into my apartment. Not forever, but ... temporarily. Asterisk, I folded my arms. You offering charity now? Asterisk, he smirked. Not exactly. A pause thickened the hallway. I'm having some company over tomorrow night. Just a couple friends. Business guys. There. Staying in town for a week. I thought maybe ... you could host. Keep things friendly, entertaining. Asterisk, my pulse skipped. You mean ... like a party? Asterisk, he tilted his head. Something like that, asterisk, and in exchange. Asterisk, no rent for 3 months. And maybe more after, depending on how the night goes. Asterisk, it hung in the air, like smoke uncertain. Dangerous, unspoken, but clearly understood. Asterisk, I'm not that kind of girl, Kenai said, barely above a whisper. Asterisk, I didn't say you were, he replied calmly. But you're also not a girl with many options, are you? Asterisk, the words stung. Not because he was wrong, but because he said it without cruelty. It's just pure observation. He slipped a card from his coat and placed it on my table. Think about it, he said, already turning away. 7:30 tomorrow. Apartment 6C. Asterisk, the door closed. I stood there, throat dry, heart loud in my ears. His card was plain white. Just a time, a room number, and a name. Derek Cole. Asterisk, that night. Sleep was useless. My mind twisted between guilt and logic. I remembered Jake, my ex, telling me I was too proud for my own good. He said pride didn't keep the lights on. Maybe he was right, maybe. I was already slipping into something worse than pride-need. Asterisk, the morning light brought no clarity. It's only silence and cold air. I stared at the card for hours. What was the price of dignity when you're already losing everything? Asterisk, still wearing last night's oversized tee, I whispered to myself like a promise. Just one night. My fingers brushed the card again, and that's when I made the call. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The elevator creaked as it climbed to the 6th floor. I hadn't worn anything flashy, just a fitted black dress I used for job interviews and a jacket I couldn't afford to lose. My hair was still damp, mascara minimal, and my palms were damp no matter how many times I wiped them. Asterisk apartment 6C was at the end of the hall. The door opened before I could knock. Asterisk Travis stood there, crisp in his charcoal blazer, smiling like a man who already knew the outcome. His cologne struck me first. Woody, expensive, intoxicating. "You came," he said. "I didn't say I wouldn't." Asterisk, he stepped aside and gestured for me to enter. The apartment was larger than mine, modern, dimly lit, warm-toned. The table was set for 4 wine, steak, candles, too elegant to be casual. Asterisk's 2 men were already seated, both in mid-conversation, but quieted as I entered. Asterisk Samantha, Travis said, "This is Derek Cole and Marcus Allen. Gentlemen, meet our hostess." Asterisk Derek stood first, lean, charming grin, eyes that lingered a second too long. "Pleasure," he said, shaking my hand and letting it go slowly. Asterisk Marcus only nodded, eyes sharp, unreadable. He didn't need to talk. His presence filled the room like thunderclouds before a storm. Asterisk wine was poured. Small talk, bloomed jobs, food, fake laughter. I didn't ask what they did, and they didn't ask why I was really here. Still, the conversation had an edge, like a song played just slightly off-key. Asterisk so. "Sam," Derek said mid-meal, swirling his glass, "you live alone." Asterisk, I nodded. "For now," asterisk Travis chimed in. "She's independent, makes her own way." Asterisk, that's rare these days, Marcus added, his voice low but rich. "Rare and attractive." Asterisk, the compliment caught me off guard. I looked down, smiling politely, but my heart wasn't in it. It was busy trying to decide whether to bolt or blend in. Asterisk then came the silence. Asterisk, it wasn't loud or abrupt. Just natural, everything stilled. And I knew we had arrived at the moment all the pleasant lies were leading to. Asterisk, Travis leaned forward. "We'll keep this simple. One night, walk out of here, and your rent's covered through the end of ties. And we all know I've been exploring that path. And I knew we had exploring that path. And I knew we had arrived at the moment. I knew we had arrived at the moment of Lausanne. We had a lot of Lise. All of class AC, quote, lost life teas last. 25 Celeste, quote, lies, quote, to 7. We cup de lies be with ladwise. Condid. We see you with, quote, we are. Kakwait can we with gway and teat so I with they quite lie to we un can I so I like to lee kaida to weeda to the you so we you can you to so we I can so to the I with you I guy we did we ka guy I could to ka kick you with if not cut I'd add yak at gert I you I guy back I kick I we had to get kick off could I can it decaf guys listen with we got I have to be covered up yeah cut you keep good here we get the year, no strings. Asterisk, I looked at each man 3 sets of eyes, waiting, wanting. I could still leave. No one had touched me yet, but I didn't move. I thought of my empty fridge, my power bill, my landlord sitting across from me, watching like a man who'd negotiated 1,000 such nights. He didn't leer or push. Asterisk, okay, I whispered. My voice wasn't sexy or confident. It just ... existed. Asterisk Travis stood and offered his hand. I took it. My skin buzzed where our palms touched. The room darkened as lights dimmed further. A playlist began slow, instrumental, intimate. The rest came without words. Derek kissed me first, soft but eager. Marcus moved behind me, his breath warm against my neck. Travis stood close, silently approving, guiding me like he owned the night. Maybe he did. Asterisk clothes disappeared in fragments, time bent, elastic and strange. Their hands weren't rough just, sure. They'd done this before. Asterisk, it wasn't romantic. It wasn't violent. It wasn't love. It was survival. When it was over, I lay on the couch, the dress draped over my legs, body sore, brain numb. The room was silent again. The men were dressing, polite, casual. Derek winked at me before checking his phone. Marcus didn't even look back. Travis stood last, buttoning his shirt. Rent's covered, he said plainly. If you need anything, you know where I live. I nodded. I didn't trust my voice. He walked me to the door, held it open like a gentleman. The hallway smelled of lemon cleaner and cheap carpet. But somehow it felt colder than I remembered. Back in my apartment, I peeled off my clothes and sat under the shower until the water ran cold. I tried not to think, tried not to feel, but the mirror caught me anyway. I looked into my own eyes and didn't. See the girl who moved here with big dreams? I saw someone who had traded pieces of herself for 30 days of silence from a landlord. Just one night, I had said. And now, morning was only hours away. The first morning after didn't come with guilt. It came with silence. My phone didn't buzz. The world didn't change. The city kept grinding, indifferent as ever. But something in me had shifted and I couldn't quite locate it. I made coffee I didn't drink, stared at my ceiling like it owed me answers. My apartment felt smaller, like the walls had seen too much. Like they knew. I checked my rent balance online, zero due. Travis had been true to his word. I should have felt relief. Instead, it felt like a weight I couldn't shake. Like the debt had been paid in something heavier than money. 2 days passed before the first message came. Derek, you were fun. We should do that again sometime. I stared at the text. No name. Just a number and a smirk. I didn't reply. Then, an hour later, Marcus, a single photo. Me, on that couch, his hand on my thigh. My eyes half-lidded. Not pornographic, but unmistakably intimate. Delete. Block. Forget. Only forgetting was impossible. When it lived behind your eyes, I returned to work. Picked up extra shifts. Made small talk with customers and smiled like nothing had changed. But something had. I flinched when someone touched me. I hated mirrors. I walked faster down hallways. On Thursday, Travis showed up at my door. I didn't open it at first, just pressed my forehead to the cool wood and listened to him knock, soft and confident. Sam, he called out. Open up. When I did, he stepped inside like he belonged. His eyes scanned my face, looking for signs. Maybe. Or willingness. They enjoyed themselves, he said casually, as if commenting on a movie. You were a hit. Didn't answer. He held out a plain envelope. Next month's rent, covered in advance. If you're open to future arrangements. That was the moment. The moment where I could have said yes, played the part. Saved myself from another financial disaster. Instead, I stepped back. I'm not doing that again, I said, voice shaking but sure. Travis raised an eyebrow. You're behind on everything else, aren't you? Yes, I said. But I'll figure it out. He chuckled once, not unkindly. Pride's a luxury. No, I corrected. Being bought is the real cost. His eyes lingered on me longer this time. Then he nodded, slipped the envelope into his coat pocket, and walked out without another word. That door closing was the loudest sound I'd ever heard that night. I found the card Derek had given Mitha, one I hadn't dared throw out. I ripped it to pieces. I didn't sleep. Instead, I updated my resume, searched for full-time work. Emailed 3 job listings before sunrise. Not glamorous ones, admin work, a janitor position at a gym, night shifts at a delivery center. Anything that didn't require me to sell pieces of my soul. A week later, I got a call from a cafe downtown. They needed a full-time barista. I took the job on the spot. Pay was awful. Hours long. But the uniform was modest, and the manager didn't look at me like he was owed anything. Small victories matter when you're rebuilding. Jake texted me after 2 months. Said he missed me, that he was sorry. I didn't reply. He didn't deserve my story, asterisk. No one did. Asterisk, what happened that night in 6C would stay with me, maybe forever. Not as a secret, but as a scar. A lesson etched deep enough that it changed how I walked, how I saw myself. How I trusted. One night for rent, that was the deal. But I'd paid in more than currency still. I didn't break. I didn't vanish. I got up every morning and I lived with it. Asterisk, and one morning, as I walked past Travis in the lobby, dressed in my cafe apron and holding a travel mug of burned coffee, he didn't speak, just looked. Asterisk, and I smiled. Not because I liked him, not because I forgave him, but because he didn't own me anymore. Asterisk.